Welcome back to The Explainer. Today, we're diving into something wild, a completely counterintuitive logistics secret hiding right inside the massive warehouses that literally run our global supply chains. We're going to see exactly how supply chain managers take what looks like absolute, utter physical chaos and engineer it into this beautifully orchestrated machine. Yep, we're talking about random storage and the FIFO method. Let's get right into it. I actually want to hook you right away with this brilliant philosophical quote straight from our source material. Mais le meilleur entrepôt est celui qui n'existe pas. Translated from French, that means the best warehouse is one that doesn't exist. Now, why would a manual on warehouse management ever say something like that? Well, because fundamentally, holding stock is a burden. You know this. The ultimate goal of any supply chain is moving products seamlessly from production to the customer. A warehouse is just there to buffer against uncertainties, group products, and keep delivery times short. So, since we absolutely have to have warehouses, the core problem becomes optimizing every single square inch of that space to keep costs down.
Section 1. The Space Challenge and the Concept of Volumetric Utilization.
To really wrap our heads around the traditional approach to this, think of a movie theater. In a traditional warehouse model, what the source calls fixed storage, every single product has a strictly assigned permanent spot. It's exactly like a theater with assigned seating. Imagine a large family buys tickets, but half of them just don't show up. You've got empty seats right there in the middle of the row. When a new group arrives, they can't sit there, right? Because those seats are assigned to the first family, even though they're empty. In a warehouse, when a specific product runs low, its assigned spot just sits there, half empty. You end up with these awkward, completely wasted gaps everywhere, which significantly drags down your volumetric utilization. And this perfectly illustrates the core conflict in warehousing. Notice the difference between the two approaches. With fixed storage, the major advantage is obvious. It's incredibly simple to manage. Everyone knows exactly where the blue widgets live. Inventory is a breeze. But the glaring disadvantage? The available space just isn't fully exploited. Now contrast that with random storage or mobile storage. The principle here is frankly pretty wild. Absolutely no product has an assigned place. A pallet comes in and it gets shoved into literally the first available empty slot it fits into. Which brings us to Section 2, the paradox of embracing randomness. Now, I know, the idea of embracing randomness sounds like an unmitigated disaster for a supply chain manager. Imagine tens of thousands of pallets and forklift drivers just dropping merchandise wherever they feel like it. How do you find anything? It sounds terrifying. But the massive payoff comes down to this single, fascinating number, 90%. According to our source data, by abandoning assigned seating and letting products fill any available void, a warehouse using random storage can hit an incredible 90% occupancy rate. Just think about the sheer amount of money a company saves when they don't have to go out and build an entirely new warehouse simply because they're fully utilizing 90% of their current cubic volume. Of course, it's a huge trade-off. Looking at the hard facts from the source, the pros of random storage are undeniably immense. Put-away movements are minimized because you literally just drop the item at the absolute nearest empty spot, and boom, you get that beautiful high occupancy. But look at the cons. Conducting a physical inventory, that becomes incredibly difficult, mainly because the exact same product could be scattered across 50 completely different locations. For this to actually work, the administrative management has to be agonizingly strict. We're talking zero margin for human error. So, how do we stop this from devolving into total chaos? Section 3, the power of FIFO. This right here is the secret weapon. It's the glue holding the entire random storage universe together. FIFO, first in, first out. You've probably heard the term before, but here's how it specifically saves the day in random storage. Even though a shipment of, say, coffee beans might be dumped in completely random locations all over the building, they aren't actually lost. They're dynamically placed and tracked. When an order drops, the FIFO rule dictates the picking priority. The system looks at all those random locations holding coffee beans and directs the worker to pick the exact pallet that arrived first. This ensures older stock gets cleared out way before it ever becomes obsolete. Which brings us to Section 4, Mastering Administrative Chaos. Look, humans can't possibly remember the arrival times of randomly scattered pallets. Mastering this requires serious technological firepower, specifically a WMS, or Warehouse Management System. The source defines a WMS as the software designed specifically to manage all operations within the facility, from receiving to stock management, right through to order prep. Let's see how this builds a flawless workflow. Step 1. The worker receives a pallet and finds the nearest empty space. Step 2, and listen, this is the absolute most critical part. They must immediately scan and log that exact physical location into the WMS. If they forget this step, that pallet effectively ceases to exist. Step 3. When an order comes in, the WMS takes over, runs the FIFO logic, and strictly dictates the exact location the worker must go to pick the oldest item. The human isn't stressing about where the product is. They're simply following the digital map. If there is just one single thing you take away from this entire explainer, it should be this golden rule. Maximum physical flexibility requires maximum administrative rigidity. Think about that for a second. You can only afford to have absolute physical chaos out there on the warehouse floor if you have absolute unforgiving digital order inside your WMS. The very second the digital record stops matching the physical reality, that entire 90% occupancy house of cards comes crashing straight down. And that leaves us with a pretty fascinating thought to end on today. Look at your own systems, your own data, maybe even how you organize your digital files. Are you clinging to inefficient assigned seating just because it feels a little safer? Or are you ready to embrace physical chaos through absolute digital order to unlock that 90% efficiency? It's a paradox for sure, but as we've seen today, it's a remarkably effective one. Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer. Keep learning, stay focused, and I'll catch you on the next one.